What's going on, pre-Chiro students? This is Dr. Ben Glass. I'm a chiropractor. We're having another important conversation here with somebody who's been very engaged and influential in the profession for many years now, Dr. Deed Harrison. Dr. Deed, can you introduce yourself? Let us know what you were up to before becoming a chiropractor, and sort of what that pivot point was, where you were at in life when you decided to go to chiropractic school.
Yeah, well, first of all, I've been a chiropractor since 1996 when I graduated, so about 25 years now. I come from a chiropractic family, so it was kind of predetermined in my dad's eyes that I was going to be a chiropractor. I didn't agree with that, of course, at that time. My father, Dr. Don Harrison, was a pioneer in the profession, deceased now, but at the time he was the only chiropractor with a PhD in applied mathematics. He also held a master's degree in mechanical engineering, a bachelor's degree in physics, and a bachelor's degree in education. So my dad was basically an astute collegiate. He had multiple degrees, and I always joked around that he went to college 17 years, so he had no freaking idea what he wanted to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that in jest, but he actually started as a mathematician and a physicist, and then later became a chiropractor, right? So I saw what he was doing and his workload and his work ethic, and I actually wanted not much to do with that. When you're 18, 19 years of age. So I was going to be a golf pro, not a professional golfer, but a pro shop guy, because I was pretty good. I had about a plus one, plus two handicap, and my dad laid it out for me and said, "Well, you're not going to make much money doing that. Join the tour. You're going to scrape by. Have your own course. If you get lucky, you might make 50 to 60 grand a year. So maybe you ought to put your mind to work." So I was like, okay. So I did mechanical engineering at the University of Utah, and I was good at it, but I decided that wasn't for me either. So I did about 3.5 years in the engineering program, and then just kind of, and I did general prereqs like everybody does. But I was like, I don't want to be a mechanical engineer. I could do it. I was smart with it, but it wasn't. I didn't want to design things, like, and maybe that's dumb today because maybe I could have designed some cool stuff. But anyway, so soul searching, this and that and the other thing, and then finally decided, what, chiropractic is not a bad avenue. It's a family legacy. It is a great profession. You get to work with people hands on. You get to help people. So I decided to go to chiropractic college in 1994, and I went to Life West,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I saw the really great things in chiropractic, but I kind of saw the serious educational shortcomings in chiropractic, and I get to say that because I'm a chiropractic expert and authority, as you know, but the students don't know. I'm probably one of the top 5 published chiropractic researchers in the history of the profession. I've written 7 textbooks and about 200 scientific articles in a variety of scientific journals, not just chiropractic. So, I was a little frustrated with the chiropractic education from the engineering side of it because I had already had a background in engineering. And
Mm-hmm.
I found out real quick that the chiropractic biomechanics, it was very, I want to say, I don't want to be rude, but I want to say it was too simplistic. It was taught by people that didn't have a background in biomechanics or engineering. It was taught by other chiropractors. And
Mm-hmm.
if your degree is not in a field, biomechanics, engineering, you probably shouldn't be teaching it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that being said, it was a really good thing for me because I saw the short side of that, and I focused a lot of my career with my late father investigating and doing better biomechanics for chiropractic. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so what was a negative, I think, actually turned into a real positive in my career, and I
Mm-hmm.
think for chiropractic because a lot of cool things for the profession were born out of my frustration and my dad's frustration
Mm-hmm.
with the lack of engineering sciences in chiropractic.
Mm-hmm. How did your dad's unique angle of what he was interested in studying, and then also your foundation in studying engineering, prepare you for what came about 20 plus years in the making now, all this work you've been able to do? How did that sort of foundation as an engineering student? Because maybe there's an engineering student listening to you right now. How is that relevant, or how could that be leveraged when becoming a chiropractor?
Well, number one, when you're 18, 19, 20 years of age, even 17, you got to realize your parents are actually pretty damn smart. And Ben, you have a young kid right now, and you said he or she's 4 months, right? You wait until they're 16, 17, or 18, and they think they know a lot more than you do, right? I've got two of those right now, and I smile because it reminds me of me. Had I listened to my father and really done the engineering route first, like truly gotten a master's degree in mechanical engineering or biomechanics or some relevant field like that, it would have totally helped me in my career that I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you know, right now, I mean, I'm prepared. I was prepared with the background, but quite frankly, my dad, and he was right. I was always considered a dangerous engineer because I'm the guy without the actual formal degree. But my understanding and experience today has just led me to incredible insights. I get to work with engineers from across different fields, whether it's biomechanics, biomedical engineering, whatever. And I guide and I ask them, I go, hey, I need this done. Here's what I want. Can you do it for me? So in that regard, I'm more of the supervisor of the project than the doer of the project
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And that's likely because I don't have the formal degree. But the person in a field of biomechanics, which is my love,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're really set to be a chiropractor. Number one, you can do a plethora of research. There's all types of research opportunities at chiropractic college nowadays for somebody that has a biomechanics background and degree. But also, I think as a clinician, it changes the way you see the body. I mean, let's be frank, the body is an engineering marvel. It is a biomechanics machine. And if you don't understand biomechanics, you don't understand the human body, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a chiropractor, we apply forces to the body to create an outcome. And if you don't understand what those forces are and what they do, you have no idea into why somebody responds the way they do or why they don't, right? That's my take on it.
That's a
To
great
me,
segue. Can you unpack or explore the world of biomechanics and the different areas and topics that students can begin to explore now, potentially to become familiar with the language or become familiar with just what the areas of study are, and then maybe later on apply those to chiropractic?
yeah, I mean, a lot of people get scared of the math and the science behind it, but there's a lot of different avenues that we can take in the field of engineering sciences. You don't have to do the mechanical engineering or the mathematics, which can be a little more robust. You can do something a little bit easier. You can do generalized engineering sciences. Um, Hold on a second. Hey, can you stop playing with the door, please? Um,
It's all good. That's what the video editor's for.
yeah, it was just making a lot of background noise. Um, the uh, the issue is, there's a host of different fields that you can do. Like you can do kinesiology, you can do more of a sports type of degree inside of biomechanics. Uh, there's a number of things you can do. You can do material testing, which is biomedical engineering. For people that are scared of math, you know what? I would say kind of get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. You don't have to get an A in it. You know what I mean? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
for people that are like, I can't do it, I go, well, C's get degrees. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody, when you graduate, they go, oh, well, what was your GPA? Nobody's ever asked me that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea is it opens a world for you from, testing inside of, I think, the human body from a biomechanics perspective. You
Mm-hmm.
will understand what chiropractors do, I think, with a higher regard, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
exercise, whether it's applied physical loads to the body that you, the chiropractor, are applying, or traction devices that chiropractic, does, whatever it is. So I would say, at least explore the avenues that engineering sciences has to offer, whether or not you get an advanced degree in it. At least take a few courses in it, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
my advice.
So I know that as chiropractors, we study normal arthrokinematics of the cervical spine, lumbar spine, thoracic spine. we're definitely enthralled with the biomechanics of the spine. Looking back on these 200 studies, what have you been able to explore in better understanding the biomechanics of the spine? And what if you were to kind of categorize these different research articles and research publications, what has been your focus throughout your career, and what are some of the things that you've been able to discover in your research?
Yeah, that's a big question, right? I mean, 200 papers, they don't just cover biomechanics, but I can break them down for you. And I can first let me tell the student or the listener, you can go to the website cbpnonprofit.com, and maybe you can put that up, and they can see these categories and they can see the different studies, and they can look into the ones that might interest them. So we've studied things in chiropractic from what are the tests that chiropractic use, like postural analysis, x-ray analysis, different forces applied to the spine to look at stiffness of the spine. Like if I push on you and you have a lot of pain and muscle spasm, you have a very rigid, stiff area. So stiffness in mechanics is force divided by displacement. So we get stiffness. You don't want a lot of stiffness in the spine in certain regions. Now, some regions you do, some you don't. So we've looked at stiffness coefficients as an outcome measurement for chiropractic, for example. We've looked at spine models. So when I look at upright human stance, we have ideal and average values for external body measurements, like how your head lines up with your rib cage, how your rib cage lines up with your pelvis, how your pelvis lines up with your feet and legs. And then we have internal analysis of the actual spine itself, which we have to have advanced imaging for that. A lot of people think that they can see the spine externally, and I'm here to tell you, just look at my head, you can't. Like you can't tell the shape and somebody's curvature in the side of the spine by just going, oh, you know, it looks good. That's wrong. That's like taking your car to the mechanic and having them look at the engine without lifting the hood and hooking up diagnostics, right? So we do imaging, which is X-ray, MRI, CT. So my group has developed models for what ideal and average values for the human spine, what they should look like in normal situations. And then we can look at a patient who theoretically might be abnormal, and we can get a benchmark. You know, it's so I think one of the biggest things my team and I have done, and I say my team, it's not just me. It was my late father and a lot of other people, and then myself now leading a team. You know, we set I think the benchmark of what is a normal data set for external and internal alignment of the human frame to use as a guideline. And it's no different than blood pressure or blood sugar measurements, right? How do you know if somebody has high blood pressure? You compare their measurement to a database of normal, right? Yep. So that's what we did with the spine, and which is an amazing thing, because then we can look at a person and go, hey, you're inside normal limits, so we don't need to do what's called structural rehabilitation alignment. We need to do something more functional, like movement types of approaches or soft tissue types of approaches, right? So you know, our research breaks down into modeling, analysis, and then we look at reliability and validity of all those things, and then we look at what can we do for the things that we identify. So we have treatment approaches too, and randomized trials and case studies. So you know, it's a huge question to say break down the CBP research, but it breaks down into models, testing, and treatment outcomes is really what it breaks down into. But then we have a host of other things in there where we like to debate. You know, researchers like to debate topics. So, you know, like, are X-rays good for you? Like, should we X-ray in chiropractic? So we have a ton of stuff where we've said X-rays are actually very safe and very effective in chiropractic, which really goes against the current norm. You know what I mean? So I hope I answered that question, Ben.
You did great. So being a chiropractor, oftentimes we see what the norm is and we question it, or we recreate something that's more inherently like based on what we understand. not what we're being told to believe, but what we've come to as a conclusion based on our own inquiries, our own questions. What are some questions that guide the work that you do? What are some questions that might guide a student who's interested in the work of CBP and chiropractic biophysics? What are some questions they should be asking of themselves that they want to go and explore the research you've done and go and become familiar so that they can come to their own conclusions?
Yeah, well, the first question is, do you really want to be a chiropractor? Do you want to work with people? Because there's some people that they don't like people, right? You like, the grumpy old whatever. So number one, the first question is, do you love people? Like, can you be around different types of people? Because as a chiropractor, you don't get to pick who walks through your door, right? You can try to market for a certain person, whatever, but at the end of the day, people come to you and you don't get to pick who walks through your door. So you got to have a love for all types of people, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. Number two is you have to have a passion for helping people. Do you have that passion, right? Do you really, really want to help people achieve their goals, not your goals, but their goals, right? That's an important question. And then, when you go, well, yeah, I want to do that. I want to better the individual that comes in. And then the question is, well, how can I do that? There's a variety of ways that we can better somebody, right? You can better somebody physically, you can do emotionally, mentally, right? Spiritually. So you got to decide, well, what route do you want to take? So, inside chiropractic specifically, there's different circles, right? And it's no different than medicine. Like, I can be a surgeon. Well, I can be a heart surgeon. I can be a brain surgeon. I can be a pediatric neurosurgeon. I can be a geriatric surgeon. The list goes on. I can be just an internal medicine specialist, right? Well, chiropractic has that too. My side of that equation, my circle, is what's called structural rehabilitation of the spine and posture. And what that means is we are interested in optimizing the alignment of the human frame and spine in order to optimize its function. So for me, knowing that that's my circle, my questions are, what is normal alignment? And then what are the variances of that? Like, how do I understand unique individual differences inside the context of, there is an idealized spine and posture? How do I tailor it to the individual? And then what are the treatments that I need to do for that? Because the treatments are very different. You don't just, do a little bit of exercise and a little bit of adjusting and then magically your spine looks better. It doesn't work that way, right? So, in every circle, there's all these different systems that you can jump into, and the questions, I think, are unique to the circle that you're in.
Exactly. Yeah, and so we're really trying to focus the student into the world that you're playing in, the world you've developed, and continue to play on your team within the context of CBP. What are some of the areas of study? I know that there's an entire series of training. Can you expand the context for our viewers of what CBP is offering to chiropractic students or chiropractors? What are some of the things that people need to train in if they want to approach the body and be able to help the body the way that CBP allows them to?
Yeah, the cool thing is, and I'll go big and then I'll come back down. The cool thing is, we have a true postgraduate diplomate program. It's not, you can call it a degree, but it's more of a certification right now. So diplomate programs are fellowship programs. We have one sponsored for CBP through the International Chiropractors Association. And a diplomate program is what we call a postgraduate degree in chiropractic. So after you get your DC degree through whatever college you go to, then what you do is you can certify with me. And I have a 420-hour program. So I have roughly 16 courses. And then I have a whole online experience where you have to actually read the research that we've done. You have to understand it. So you have to read 200 plus peer-reviewed research papers. And I say plus, I've done 200, but my group has done like 270. So you have to read and evaluate our work and understand it. And then you have to do an internship program with a CBP instructor, so chiropractic biophysics instructor. So that whole program, some people can complete it in a year. Other people can take a couple years to do it. And that can be scary to a new student because they're going, wow, I got to do 4 years of chiropractic college and then a year of this. Well, the good news is you don't have to do that program with me. Some of the chiropractic colleges teach my work and my father's work as part of their program. Now, you're not going to get certified in it, but you'll get 1 or 2 courses, and you'll get a pretty good introduction to the system. And the colleges, and I'm just going to say it, it's Life West and Life University. Those are the two main programs we have right now. There's other ones, but they kind of dabble in it. And if anybody's interested in chiropractic biophysics or CBP, I send them to the two Lives, right? And it's Life University and Life West. So you can study our work that way, and you can either dabble and take 1 or 2 courses with me. You can read some of the research that we've done on the website that I listed for you, which is cbpnonprofit.com. And you can see what we're all about. In the end, we're interested in improving people's outcomes, pain, function, neurophysiology, and we're studying all facets of that. And I think we're one of the leaders in when we correct the spine, do people get better and what things get better. And my team and I have done just, I think, an amazing job at that in the last few years on randomized trials. So that's a little bit of the background.
Two creative questions that are relevant. The first one is, if we were to flip it and say there was a pre-chiropractic CBP focused program, do you think that college and potentially career transitioning prospective students could handle going through and exploring some of the research, going through and handling some of the familiarization that you get them into, of like how traction works or some of the terminology involved and associated with how clinicians are thinking? That's a question. And then the second one is, what if you had another 10 or $100 million injected into your group's budget for research? What would the research agenda look like? Would it massively scale? Would we have the resources available to carry forth whatever agenda you think is necessary to potentially, carry us through the next 5 to 10 years of research and publications?
Okay, so first one is, what does a student do in the beginning? I have 2 resources. Number one, you can go to my Chiropractic Biophysics YouTube channel. I have about, 60 or 70 really good videos up there that are roughly anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour long. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what I do with spine rehabilitation and my team does, what CBP is all about, go to the Chiropractic Biophysics YouTube channel and just start watching some of the videos. The videos are very colorful. You get to see my unique personality. Some people think I'm angry. No, I'm passionate, right? There's a big difference. So one thing is, don't ever send me a message and tell me I'm angry. I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person at all. My blood pressure's good. My physiology's good. I'm passionate, right? I just don't tolerate nonsense, right? So go to that YouTube channel. Number 2, you can go to my website, cbppatient.com, and you can look up CBP doctors around the world. So that's cbppatient.com, and call up a CBP doctor and say, hey, can I come observe your practice? And if you're cool and you actually listen to what the doctor's doing and you're friendly and interactive, they might even hire you as like an internship, and you will learn on the job things that are going to accelerate you into chiropractic. And my CBP doctors, we all do that for students, right? If you call up a CBP doctor and say, hey, I'm a prospective student, I want to be a chiropractor, I listened to Dr. Deed and he said to seek you out, they'll take you under their wing if you're cool. You know what I mean? So those are the two
And if
resources.
I was to add one little thing, it's look at the CBP doctors and then check out their YouTube channels as well, just to get a feeling for what they're about. I'm sure everybody has a YouTube or at least a video online these days.
Sure,
Keep
yeah,
going.
you can get a feel for what they do uniquely, right? Uh, the thing with the research budget, yeah, that's a what if dream. I can't even really think in those terms. Here's why, Ben. Uh, CBP nonprofit is a true 501c3 nonprofit organization. We've been around since the 1980s. We're self-funded. We're privately funded. We're smaller players in the research game, but we get stuff done. You want to get, I don't want big money. I don't. I think that taints you. Now you have all these other interests involved. On 100 grand a year, we publish roughly 20 papers a year, which that comes out to about $5,000 a paper. And that's unheard of in the academic arena. It's unheard of. Like students wouldn't even fathom, what I'm saying. Like for me to do a randomized trial on $5,000 means that I'm networking with universities overseas, that those projects are funded through the government and grants that way. So I don't have to pump $1 million into a randomized trial. I don't want to. Like, why would I do that? To me, that's the problem when you see a lot of, pharmaceutical or vaccine studies that are funded by big industry. How do you trust them? And,
not to reframe the question, but less about the money and more about what are the areas that you would like to further explore. Obviously, they continue to emerge as you ask new questions. So I'm just more curious of like, what are some questions that you currently hold that the future projects might aim to answer? And if the budget piece is just allowing for maybe more researchers to get involved or more people, I'm just always curious because I know that you work with a team and what it would look like to scale that team, but it doesn't sound like you need to.
No, I'm, honestly, I'm not so you're asking me a question to be somebody different. I'm not than I am. And so I'm very comfortable with who I am.
Yep.
I'm not everybody's a dreamer, but I'm a goal oriented person. And I think in realistic terms in what I have in front of me and what I can do now. And so on a budget of 100 to 150,000 a year, I can pump out 20 to 25 papers, and I can lead the way in chiropractic rehabilitation sciences. And that's what I'm doing. My team and I, we don't care about getting paid for our work. Nobody on the CBP nonprofit team gets money for doing the research, except for one person. We hired a master's degree who's now a PhD candidate, who's a chiropractor. We hired him because we have to have somebody crunch numbers and data and do things, right? So that individual gets paid, but very small amounts of money, and so the rest of the CBP nonprofit team, we're just like myself, private people. We make our money through different ventures, not research. Like I make my money through education and product sales. I hold copyrights and pseudo patents on certain things and whatever. So I make my money that way, but I don't make it by being a researcher. So I don't want $5 to $10 million. I don't. If you want 5 to 10 million, give it to a chiropractic college and see what they can do with it. I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. We're studying, when we correct the spine, does it improve brain function? Does it improve spinal cord velocity? Can we improve, what we call, and sorry for the term, but it's called sensory motor control, which is how your body takes external stimuli and processes it into a motor or movement output. How do we optimize that from whether it's a general person or an athlete? So we're studying all these things, and we are getting it done on 120,000 a year, not 5 to 10 million. So
yeah, no, I must have just totally been mistaken that research is driven by money. I had no idea that you could do it on such a small budget. I've heard people on stage say that you need at least 100,000 a study. That's why I was coming from that place.
Yeah, that's why? That's because that's what the average researcher gets. They're paid to do it, right? So they have a budget, and some of the researchers, I mean, to do a project, it's, the average randomized trial is 3 to 5 years from start to finish. So what does a researcher want to do that? Well, high end ones, they want $500,000 or $1 million. Low end ones, they want, I at least want 50 grand a year to do that as my research stipend, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I come on and I go, I don't want to get paid for it. I don't get paid to do research. I've done 200 papers and I don't get paid. So I do it, for me, I do it out of a love and a passion, but I also make money on the other side of the equation as a clinician and as an educator, and as somebody that out of research, maybe I develop a product that I go, well, hey, this product works based on this. Let me sell that as a wholesale product to chiropractors. So indirectly I get paid. I have to disclose that, but I don't get paid to do papers. So yeah, that's not my world. And in fact, people have asked me why I don't do that. I don't want to. I don't want 100 grand to do a paper, because then now I'm getting paid for something that was a passion, and not something that, I do this because I make money.
Yeah, so and then just wrapping up, I often hear it said that chiropractors, we have a humanitarian spirit, that it's not about the money, it's about the service and the ability to help somebody in the way that we do, uniquely, naturally, effectively, and efficiently. Can you speak to why somebody should be motivated to become a chiropractor, why somebody should really consider becoming a chiropractor, and just kind of drive it home for us?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I said first and foremost. I mean, do you like people? You got to like all types of people. And I've met people that are like, I don't want to work on kids in my practice. I'm like, what? I mean, that's the foundation of the future. And where do you think the adult with screwed up problems comes from? They started as a kid, right? So it's like you got to love people, and you want to put people first. Money is second. You have to get paid for what you do because you have to run a business. But you don't want to look at a person and go, oh, they're this much money, they're this much money. You want to look at them and go, this is an opportunity for me to help this person achieve their personal goals. And by the way, I get paid for it. You know what I mean? That's how you have to look at being a chiropractor. And chiropractors, by nature, in history, we've been very humanitarian, which is like me. What I'm telling you is I don't want to get paid for doing research. I just want to do it. I'll figure out how to make my money somewhere else. I put people and patients first, right? That's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with the prospective students out there. If they want to find out more information, we'll definitely link to the number of different resources that you provided for them. And that's pretty much a wrap. This is the end of the conversation, where the interview is pretty much over, but I kind of just want to get your real life, just like no bullshit, like what's going on with the profession as you see it, where I see where you're focusing your energy and being effective in the way that you are most passionate about or best know how, and doing it with the people that you care about, and having a good time doing it. But like, where are the gaps in our profession right now that need to be filled? Because to me, just to share with you, this pre-chiropractic gap, I believe, is a huge gap that is keeping us away from the general public. Like, there's no chiropractors in campus health centers and colleges or high schools. There's very little representation. So I'm just curious what you think needs to happen, or not needs to happen, but just off the cuff, like, what do you think is important?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just rotating perspectives here. The light coming in. I agree. I mean, we don't have chiropractors in early education places, right? So we have to do a better job getting people inside those arenas. To me, again, that's not my forte, so I can't speak on that. But the things that I'm most interested in is protecting the rights of a chiropractor to perform the things that we have legal authority to perform. And one of those is X-ray imaging, and then spine rehabilitation, and then long-term care and being reimbursed for those things. So, what I really see is holes in chiropractic academics. It's, trying to remove x-ray rights, which is happening across the world. They're trying to restrict chiropractic radiology licenses and imaging scenarios. And then they're trying to, pigeonhole and limit us into, treating back pain only cases or neck pain only cases, and, not treating kids and all this stuff. And then, they're trying to do short-term care only. You get 6 to 12 visits, and that's all a chiropractor should need, right? So those are the holes that I'm trying to fill. And from a research perspective, from the academic side of it, I totally agree that, to get people into chiropractic, there needs to be something early in pre-chiropractic education. But, I don't think I offer much there except for, driving some of the prospective students to CBP practices so they can see what a CBP office is all about, right?
I mean, to be honest, I might not have ever even heard of CBP. I've never been given the opportunity to hear you had I not transferred to Life West from Western States. And I chose the chiropractic school initially based on location. And I just think that that's a failure for not only transparency. Right now, the pre-chiropractic experience is really just an admissions process that is perpetuated by the chiropractic school admissions teams, and they have their own agenda. They need students. They indoctrinate students into thinking their brand of chiropractic education is better than the other schools, and they're inherently kind of dividing the generations as they come into school. So what do you think about like students that have a shared experience of I've heard about CBP? That's great that you're at that school. I'm at this school. I chose it for different reasons. But let's work together to make each other better. And having CBP, I'm sure that at this point you do have infrastructure so that CBP clubs are communicating with one another. But I just mean that like you said, at other schools, they either dabble or they leave it off the table completely. And these are so-called evidence-based, evidence-informed education institutions. So it's like, my thing is, if they hear about you before school, regardless of what school they go to, they can at least get tapped into what CBP is and explore it and come away with a better education.
Yep, I totally agree. And we do have a good, strong club infrastructure now, trying to get the students involved. With the COVID situation that happened, boy, it's been kind of a nightmare to get everybody reconnected, but, I have a representative that's a great CBP instructor that leads the clubs. And we have probably 8 or 9 different clubs across the United States. We're working on some of the international ones. So we try to tie the schools together. And,
Awesome.
we classically right now we use Facebook, we use, some YouTube, we use some Vimeo things. And so we have some pretty good, I think, student resources. And then we bring the CBP students into the online CBP Doctor Forum, which is a member-only forum. And so we bring those students into that, and we guide them and answer questions. And so I think we have a pretty good student resource for the ones that find us. The problem is how do you find the ones that don't find you?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep working and connecting people to you, and I appreciate your time. And I'm gonna get back to my family, and yeah, I'll just let you know if there's a way that I can link pre-chiropractic, this interview and other CBP doctors that I interview, if I can kind of create a little bit of an ecosystem for prospective students and then link it to you so there's a smooth transition process into the chiropractic school experience.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I appreciate it, Ben. Thank you. Hopefully it was, what you anticipated this morning.
It was. It was. Thank you so much. I
Great.
appreciate it, Deed. Take care,
No
man.
problem. No problem. Are you going to send this out via?
I'll share the interview with you now. This was live on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay. So if you share it with me, I'll put it out in the CBP group too. So.
All right. Great.
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
man.
care.
Have a good day.